Welcome, sisters. This is Dr. Leonor Murciano-Luna, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020. This is my first audio meditation for 2020, Ushering in the Conscious Feminine. And I wanted to share a embodied meditation with you in joining with all of you to usher in the conscious feminine for this beautiful new year of this new decade of 2020. And before I go into the meditation that we are going to do today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the conscious feminine, talk a little bit about what is happening energetically, cosmically, and what we're poised to receive at this time in 2020. And so, as you probably have heard, most of you have heard at the turn of this from 2019 to 2020, there is a lot of energy happening astrologically. There's a lot of force, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of deconstruction happening, and there's visibly a shift that a lot of us are feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, and in our bodies. And a lot of the shift that is happening is something new is being born. There's a lot of awakening of consciousness. But we may or may not be aware of that, because a lot of us are aware of what the deconstruction that we see in the world, which is a lot of what is on its way out. And what is actually behind the scenes happening is there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of ignition happening, there's a lot of awakening and activation for us as a humanity to awaken to our divinity. And this is really the ushering in of the feminine, reconnecting the feminine principle to its divine and sacred principle, because the feminine principle is divine, and it is the great mother that gives birth to all of form and formlessness. It is formlessness itself. It is the oneness. And in the past, culturally, we have, and collectively, we have disconnected the feminine principle. She's been in hiding. She's been repressed. And it is time now for all of us, and those of us that are already awakened to this principle, to really usher her into our lives and reclaim the feminine principle, even in our divine matrix, to reclaim the feminine principle on all levels and restore her to her rightful place. And so that happens not only in our consciousness, but it happens in our how we relate to the world around us. It happens how we relate to ourselves, how we relate as women to our bodies, how we relate and what we value. And so that there's a lot of that is deconstructing at this time, our old sense of what we have been identifying with. And with that, of course, our own personal and collective shame, our own personal and collective powerlessness, our own personal and collective sense of abandonment. Those are all the filters that we have been living our lives through. And a lot of that is now reconstructing, deconstructing, and then giving birth to something new, which is that which I have termed the conscious feminine, because it's about this feminine principle, bringing it consciously into our awareness, awakening to the truth of her being. And and reuniting what we see and feel that the divine is, reuniting that with that feminine principle of the creative source that is giving birth to life itself at all times, through us, outside of us, within us, on all levels. It's all anchored in the feminine, this feminine matrix. And so this year of 2020 is significant because planetarily and astrologically there's a lot of planets in Capricorn, and there's just a lot of energy for us to make this shift even in a greater way, and to start really establishing and anchoring the new structures on the outer that will be connected to the feminine. So it's also about restoring the earth and restoring our relationship with the earth and with Gaia, and our relationship as women with our own bodies, and understanding the feminine principle and how it weaves this beautiful light even within our own physical body, restoring that sacredness, realizing that our physical body is sacred, and that the Divine Mother is holding her, and the Cosmic Womb Mother is also holding us in her image, and starting to really relate and anchor to ourselves as sacred beings. And on another level, on another aspect, or even our physical body is shifting from a carbon-based body to our crystalline form. And really that's about anchoring in our light bodies and really restoring our sense of divinity, anchoring ourselves, knowing that we are divine beings in this physical form, in our physical bodies. And so as we usher this beautiful light in this new decade of 2020, as we usher in the conscious feminine, I have created a very special meditation for today to help us to embody the conscious feminine and release and let go of all of that which is deconstructing now in our bodies, and helping us transform, release the old patterning that we have been conditioned to live through. So the old patternings of unworthiness, the old patterning of shame, the old patterning of, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious, that collectively and culturally we have been indoctrinated to this lesser form of feminine, and this idea of feminine that has really carried a lot of pain and suffering and wounding in the last 6,000 years. But even before that, it's really a patterning that as a human being we have been carrying, of suffering, of victimization. And we have a wonderful opportunity to really open up to that new level of awareness, new level of empowerment, new level of sovereignty in this moment, by awakening even more to our own sovereignty, to our own divinity, and realizing that we are the medicine that we need to heal and to connect with what I call with our superpower. And our superpower, we have many of them as women, But one of them is really realizing our sacredness, realizing that we are divine beings, and really starting to activate that in our DNA, in each and every cell, consciously, because it is through our consciousness, through our conscious awareness, that we empower ourselves. So what we think of is what we, in many ways, manifest, but it's also what we may be thinking or carrying unconsciously. So the more that we're able to turn inward and assess and be with our hearts and be with our souls and notice the patterns that are coming up, notice our reactions, notice what we are believing in any given moment, notice if we're falling into doubt or fear. These are the patterns that we are clearing. Any patterns of fear or of unworthiness or of not enoughness. And so in any given moment, we have the ability to have introspection and notice. It's almost like having a little bit of separation from your own response and reactions in the world, and notice what you're actually believing, what you're actually subscribing to in that moment. And if it is something other than love, love first for yourself, realizing that you are a divine being. And then secondly, for those around you, because in reality, there is no competition. Everyone is a divine being, whether they're acting out of it or not. And so if there's any level of competition or jealousy or any need to act out of haste rather than love, then perhaps that is a pattern that you are subscribed to that might have been unconscious to this point. And so your willingness to say, wait a minute, that's really not me. Let me look at what I'm believing here. And under competition and jealousy is a belief of limitation, is a belief of separation, is a belief of unworthiness, is a belief that you have to fight to get something, to win. And that comes from a belief of separation, a belief of not knowing your true essence, not knowing that you're truly divine, and within you is your superpower to connect with the abundance of the universe, that there's enough for everyone, that we don't have to fight or struggle. This is all part of that past paradigm that is in this whole deconstruction phase now. That is part of our old paradigm of suffering, old paradigm of pain and victimization. And the only one that can change that is you, me, myself. I am the only one that can step into between my thoughts, my beliefs, and either say no and allow them to transform into the light, into the love, by facing my fears, facing my doubts, facing my shadows, facing the jealousy, facing the shame, facing the rage, and then letting it surrender into the greater unconditional love of the mother, that which we are created from. Letting it completely surrender, letting us completely surrender, knowing that that is just our separation. It's our egoic nature that is created in separation and that feels it has to fight for things and struggle. And then we're actually not able to be in our power. And so this year, 2020, we have a lot of support astrologically, cosmically, to evolve these patterns, limited paradigm and limited patterns that have been operating in us. And the first step to doing that is to notice them, notice ourselves, and humble ourselves enough to say, oh, wait a minute, I've been reacting from fear, and I no longer need to do that. And I want to access my superpower here. I want to access the divine love that I am. I want to access that. And I'm going to take responsibility over my words, my actions, my thoughts, and my responses. And not in a way where I'm making myself wrong. If I am reacting and I am coming from or being triggered from a place of separation or shadow, if you may, a place of anger, a place of jealousy, a place of fight or flight. Not making ourselves wrong, just noticing that place has been separated, that place has been wounded. And so let's make room in our hearts to actually embrace those places, to transform, to reclaim the truth and the sacredness that was once wounded and no longer has to be, because I can acknowledge that I am divine, and that in that divinity is the medicine, is the unconditional love, that I am made in that light, and in that light is the unconditional love that I am craving, that I am needing to know that I am whole, to know that I am enough, to know that I am worthy, to know that I have the right to be, the right to express myself, the right to love. And I can stand and I can anchor myself in my sacredness and start identifying with our divinity and start to let go even more of our identification with our egoic nature, with our personality, with our fight or flight, with our decisions and actions from fear, with our victimization, with our wounding even. And so, in that frame of thought, I'd like to do a little meditation, offer a embodied process from Conscious Feminine Medicine to bring us in and usher in this beautiful wave of the Conscious Feminine. And so before we do that, I just want to touch on a couple of things that it's important as women to really, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, to really restore a relationship with our bodies. You know, our relationship with our bodies has been very distorted, mostly through fear, through wounding, through trauma, for thousands of years, if not more. The point is that we have, as souls, we have incarnated at this time of the great ascension, of the time of a great awakening, of the time of the consciousness shift into us humans awakening to our divinity. And so many of us that probably, most of you that are listening to this, probably took on a lot more trauma in this lifetime, collectively from our ancestors, because this is the big shift. And so we probably took on a lot for our souls to heal, to bring it all into the unconditional love. And because of that, a lot of us have been carrying very, very strong wounds, very strong trauma, very distorted relationship with our bodies, with our feminine form, with our bodies as women. And in that, of course, is the shame and the self-hatred. And rejection, a lot of self-rejection with our physical body. And so it is important for us to start noticing, or to continue to notice, the beauty and restore the love for our physical body, and realize that in each and every cell of our body is light and is divine essence. And that is our feminine essence, and that our body is really the key to feeling our spirituality, our divinity on this physical plane. It's a vessel. And to start seeing our bodies as this beautiful vessel of light and love. And sometimes, yes, sometimes there's a lot of veils of pain, self-rejection, self-hatred. And we live in our culture and in a world that still supports that still supports our bodies being just objects and not necessarily sacred. Our feminine body has taken the brunt of blame and has been demonized as well. So we, in our physical body, and maybe for some of us that has been still kept unconscious, that others really feel that pain. And so when we reject our bodies unconsciously or consciously because we feel we're not good enough, or that we feel like we're being judged or criticized. So all of these are the old patterns. And we project it onto the world outside, even though our culture does do these things. But what's important is your relationship with your body. Are you unconsciously criticizing? Are you unconsciously rejecting yourself? And so when we find these shadow places, open your heart and let that light of unconditional love, that forgiveness come in, and know that, yes, okay, I have criticized that part of my body. I have rejected it. I have felt and believed the fear, the judgment, the shame. And bringing that into the light and bringing that into love. It's like holding it in the cosmic womb mother and letting the unconditional love embrace that part of you and let in the forgiveness. And then let yourself rise to your truth of being a sacred vessel and being really made out of light, divine light. And so it's really key to restore that relationship with your body. And throughout the year, I will be talking much more about this on our YouTube podcast, which I'm beginning this year. There are many other videos there, but this year I'm beginning a new podcast called She Speaks. And it's all about ushering the conscious feminine and conscious feminine medicine so that we can have these discussions and talk about what it is that we are opening up, awakening to, and embodying as women, and empowering ourselves in our sovereignty, in our divinity. And this is about assessing our superpower. How do we access our superpower? Accessing our superpower, which is our divine matrix of light, the divine cosmic feminine principle, and restoring her as our divine creatrix, our divine creatrix and creator. And then last but not least, it's about, I wanted to talk just a couple of minutes about, as we're about protecting ourselves, as we're entering this new paradigm. So as we're gaining more and more light within ourselves, within our consciousness, as we're making this shift into the conscious feminine, as we're restoring her in the consciousness of ourselves, the consciousness of our planet, as we gain more light, because we're in a duality, we also can see a lot of the darkness, a lot of the fear, a lot of the rage, a lot of the anger, a lot of the destruction, a lot of the pain, a lot of the opposite come up. And not the darkness that is the depth of our being. It's a different darkness. I'm talking about the darkness that is void of love, that some of us might call evil, but it's really the void of love that feels it has to compete, that feels it has to be in fear, win over others, power over others, that in that way is destructive. And so know that our protection, as we're, bringing and establishing this light within ourselves, and then as anchors for this light and this vibration and this frequency on the planet, our protection is really our relationship to our light and how we're anchored in this light. So the more that we're able to access our light, be in our light, be in the unconditional love, whether through particular prayers and practices and breath work and movement and dancing and activating the joy, that vibration, that frequency repels the denser, darker frequency of that which is void of love or light. Because if you think in terms of frequency, when we move into and believe the fear, the doubt, the pain, when we get stuck in those places, then we're vibrating, or rage or anger, we're vibrating at that level and that frequency, and then we resonate, and more and more and more and more of that energy clings to us, to our minds, to our consciousness, to our aura. And so the medicine is to anchor in your light, is to wake up and notice what mood you're in. And if you're in pain, if you were very busy at night, because a lot of us now are very busy at night in the dream state, clearing, and transforming, and there's a lot of messages coming in, and there's a lot of deconstruction happening. And so if you're in that space when you wake up and you're waking up tired, and cranky and in some kind of pain, emotional, physical, then take the time to anchor, to clear, to come back into your true state, your nature of love, of joy. And some days that may take 5 or 10 minutes, and other days it may take an hour or two. And it's almost like rewiring yourself to default to the frequency of love, to your divine star blueprint, to your divinity. And that shifts your frequency. And what happens is that love is greater. That frequency is what transmutes the darkness, the fear, the pain, the doubt, the shame. Transmutes. And then that becomes your protection. Because then your aura expands in that light, expands more and more and more, because you are consciously invoking your truth. You're consciously inviting your light to expand. You're consciously seeing and embodying your light and saying yes to that light. You're consciously surrendering everything that is not light, that is in separation. And that light expands further and further and further, and repels and transmutes everything that comes into contact with it. And so your protection is anchoring in your light in the morning, anchoring in your light preferably 5 times a day, and anchoring in your light at night. And it could be a simple prayer of invocation to the Great Mother at 5 times a day, in the morning, at noon, mid-afternoon, at sundown, and in the evening before going to bed. And that is your protection. And as we're shifting, as I said, as all of these energies, and there's a lot of deconstruction happening on the planet, no matter what we see, we have to turn inward and anchor in our light. And this will give us the strength, and it's like activating your superpower, your sacred power. And you can use a phrase throughout your day, along with breath. And this is something that, again, I teach in some of the embodied practices. But very simply, you can use and affirm your truth throughout the day to anchor in your light by just stating, I am divine, I am sovereign, I am the medicine. I am divine, I am sovereign, I am the medicine. And repeating that in your awareness at least 3 or 6 or 9 times throughout your day helps you to reestablish that connection with your divinity, with your superpower. Okay, so I'd like to start the meditation at this time. So find yourself a comfortable place. This is an embodied meditation of ushering in the conscious feminine. And it's a little ceremony And if you have a candle, you can light a candle. And you can do this again. You can record this. Not record. You can use this recording and perhaps do it another time even with a fire outside. But at this time, let's just sit comfortably and take a couple of deep breaths. And just let yourself become aware of your surroundings, where you are. And I'm going to start with the invocation to the Great Mother. And this is a prayer that you can also use throughout the 5 times during the day, in the morning and the evening, to anchor yourself, to bring you back to your true essence. Dear Mother, I bow my head, heart, and womb to you, for you are the creatrix and the created. From your womb, the 10,000 things are born. I ask that you bring me close, awaken me, and keep me in your flow of divine grace. Hold me in your ecstatic presence, where all veils are dissolved, leaving only your whispering truth as my teacher. Let me drink from your cup of mercy and merge with you into the annihilation of my being. Forever and ever, dear Mother. So just go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths. And bring your presence and your awareness into your sitting bones, your pelvic floor, and let yourself connect and feel your pelvic floor and your root, your perineum, connecting with the chair where you're sitting at, or whatever surface you're sitting at. And just feel and breathe into your root. Let it expand into the earth and feel the connection with the Earth Mother. And then I want you to just breathe from the Earth Mother into your lower abdomen, putting your hands underneath your belly button, and this is your sacral womb. And just breathing into your sacral womb, your whole pelvic cavity. Breathing it in from below you, from the earth, all the way up into your pelvic cavity, just breathing. And as you breathe, we're just going to sound. We're going to do a little toning just for vibration, to bring in and connect with the vibration of the Great Mother. And it's the W-U sound. W-U sounds like woo. We're just going to do that 3 times. Brings you into the frequency of the Great Mother. Beautiful. And then bringing your hands up to your heart and your solar plexus. This is your middle womb. And we're going to breathe into this whole area 3 times as well. And on the exhale, we're going to use the mother frequency of woo. And it's ending in woo and it ends in om. O-M. Breathing in. And then we're going to bring our hands up to our eyes, covering our eyes and our third eye. This is your upper womb, which is really your whole head, activating your pineal gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus. And now we're going to tone and sound using the sound code for the Great Mother. Woo Om, Woo Om, Woo Om. Okay, we're going to do that 3 times with your exhale. Breathe in. Letting yourself now feel these 3 wombs connected and opening up, all the way opening up the top of your head to connect with the cosmic womb mother, with the dark moon mother, the celestial realm. Bringing in all the galactic forces of the Great Mother. Letting yourself open up. Feeling yourself completely connected. Completely an open vessel of the Great Mother. Open vessel of consciousness. And so We wanted to give thanks. We want to begin by giving thanks to the universal mothers that are really, we're breathing them in. They're connected to the elements in our bodies. They're connected to the elements in the body of Gaia, Mother Earth. They're connected to our cosmic roots. We want to give thanks and gratitude. We bow our hearts and soul to the Earth Mother for sustaining us and rooting our soul. We give thanks to the Ocean Mother of Love for the unconditional container of love that we swim in, that we live in, that we breathe in. We give thanks to the Cosmic Womb Mother of Air for breathing life into us at all times. We give thanks for the Dragon Mother of Fire for their spark of life, our life force, our constant transformation and purification of our being. And we give thanks for the Dark Moon Mother of Ether for the evolution of our feminine soul, for the evolution of our consciousness, where we can unite with the cosmic womb, where all light is born from the great womb, divine darkness of our womb and of the cosmic womb. And we want to call in the conscious feminine primordial mother, the one that has given birth to this dimension and to all dimensions, the mother of all that is and ever has been. It is our intention at this time to resurrect her now, here, within our hearts, within our souls, within our thoughts, within ourselves, within our senses, our hearing, our vision, our smelling, our touch, our taste, within our minds, within our actions, within our reality, and in every breath. And so in our imagination, we imagine a white rose, and we take this white rose, and into it we place all of the ways that we have denied our feminine presence, all the ways that we have denied our own divinity, that we have denied the Great Mother, and that we have denied our sacredness this past year and any time in our past. And we place all of these times into the white rose. And with a sigh, and in her name of the toning of Wu, we surrender it. We surrender this to you, Great Mother. We surrender it into your fire, symbolized by the candle in front of us, or the candle in our minds, or the fire in our minds. We surrender it to your fire of transformation, releasing our denial of the past, and we chant the name of the Mother 3 times as we throw this white flower into her fire of transformation. Take a deep breath and release. And then we take the next rose in our imagination, and into it we place all of the fears that we have consciously and unconsciously subscribed to, all the moments that we have given into fear and doubt. We put all of these moments into the white rose and allow ourselves to surrender it into the Great Mother, into the Great Mother's fire of transformation. And we say, Great Mother, we release all the moments of fear and doubt that have overtaken me and that I have believed the fear, I have believed the doubt, I have acted from the fear and the doubt. And I surrender this rose unto your fire of transformation, dear Mother. Take a deep breath. And we take another white rose. And into the white rose we place all of the shame, all of the moments of shame and judgment and criticism of ourselves, of others, of our world. And we place this shame onto the white rose, surrendering it to the white rose. And as we do that, we toss the white rose into the Great Mother's fire of transformation, giving it all to the Great Mother, into her fire of transformation, allowing it to release from our being any bind that it has had with us this last year or in any time of the past. We take a deep breath. And then we allow ourselves to take another rose. And into this white rose we place all of the powerlessness that we have given into, all the thoughts of powerlessness, of hopelessness, in the past, of victimization, of feeling like a victim, of feeling unworthy. And we take all of these moments in the past of this last year or any time of the past for ourselves that we have experienced and we have believed this as truth. And we place this onto the white rose. We place our pain, we place our thoughts, we place our beliefs onto the white rose, surrendering them completely. And we ask you, dear Mother, to take this rose onto your transformational fire, allowing it to transform in our very being, in our souls, in our mind, in our consciousness, in our patterning. And we toss this white flower into your fire. And now we bow our hearts in gratitude and we ask the Great Mother to rewire and recalibrate our 3 wombs into the higher frequencies of her, into her presence, into the Great Mother Matrix of life itself, of unconditional love, of peace. I invite your presence, Great Mother, in my sacral womb. May you ground me in your divinity, in your sovereignty, in your wisdom, in your truth, in your gnosis, through direct experience in my physical form, through my body. And I invite you, dear Great Mother, into my heart womb to recalibrate and ground me in your unconditional love, peace, safety, full embodiment of your light, of your joy, of your ecstatic bliss, of your safety and your creative flow. And dear Mother, I invite your presence into my head womb to transform every thought, every thought in my mind, to transform my hearing, my speech, my sensations, my perceptions, my sense of smell, and my every action to come from your infinite creative source. And I bow my head in gratitude. And just take a deep breath and feel this expansion and this recalibration in all 3 wombs, from the top of your head all the way through your root, expanding horizontally anchoring vertically and then expanding horizontally into the world. Feel the expansion of your light blueprint matrix, your divine matrix. And then letting that love from your divine matrix penetrate Mother Gaia, Earth herself, letting all that love embrace Mother Earth. And then letting all that love from your heart, from your soul, from your matrix, from your divine star, extend to all of your brothers and sisters on the planet. May they each awaken to their true divine nature, to their true divine star matrix. And then lastly, we want to bow again our hearts and our souls to the Great Mother. May we awaken every and each cell in our being to you, Divine Great Mother. And may we at this moment renew our commitment to walk and talk and anchor ourselves in the divine essence of unconditional love within ourselves and with everyone that we meet. We bow our heads in gratitude, and we celebrate and give thanks to this powerful, powerful ignition within us. Thank you, Great Mother, peace and love and light. And so it is. Thank you. Many blessings.